Path of development. Is there a path of development allowing a country to become developed? Let me bring another world map indicating the unequal distribution of HDI. This map lays on the latest data published by the UNDP, or the United Nations Development Program. There was no legend, so let me tell you the meaning of each color. First, we have the very dark blue, which equals to a very high HDI, or above zero point 0.8. We have the dark blue, which is equal to a high HDI, and is between zero point 0.7 and zero point 0.8. The light blue is equal to a medium HDI between 0.55 and zero point 0.7. And lastly, the very light blue equals to a very low HDI, below zero point 0.5. Like the map appearing at the end of the first video lecture, this map categorizes places using a scale of development, so it divides the countries in the world into developed and developing. But why have some countries developed while others have not? One of the key thinkers in the 20th century development studies was Rostow, an American economist and government official. In 1960, he presented 5 steps through which all countries must pass to become developed. The first step is also known as the traditional society. Let me take you to the northeastern part of Brazil and let me introduce you to the Zo people, hunting and gathering during the dry season and cultivating manioc and bananas in their gardens around the houses. None of the hunted, gathered, and cultivated resources are traded. Everything is used for the Zo's own subsistence. In a traditional society, the only trade which can exist is the barter or exchange of items required for living and not for profit. Step 2 is also called the precondition. Let me take you to a countryside. What has changed between the last and this? The size of the field? You notice some capital equipment in the agriculture, such as the plow, which is drawn by a horse. This helps increase the productivity and helps generate some surpluses, which can be traded. Other industries start to emerge, although one will take dominance and resources start to be exploited. The vast majority of the population work in the agriculture or the primary economic sector. Step 3 is also called the takeoff. Let me take you to a textile factory. What has changed? This photograph illustrates the increase of industrialization, which has become important in economic and social terms. Industries provide incomes, jobs, foreign currency receipts, and in the long run give a chance to provide countries the opportunity for sustained economic development in those countries with appropriate policies and institutions. The industrialization generates immigration trends from rural areas to urban, thereby kickstarting the process of urbanization. In conjunction with the industrialization comes some improvements of political and social reforms. Infrastructure is being seriously developed. Next, we have step 4, which is called the drive to maturity. Let me take you to industrial city. What has changed? The majority of the population now live in urban areas, which offer social infrastructure, such as schools and hospitals. As multiple industries and services have expanded, the proportion of the active population working in agriculture has sharply declined. Next, we have step 5, which is also called the high mass consumption. Let me take you to Madison Square Garden in New York City. What has changed? The dull industrial scenery has been replaced by beautiful urban scenery, which can be considered an icon of the high mass consumption, as Madison Square in New York provides a good sampling of the services which dominate the American economy, such as statistics, health, banking, insurance, marketing, entertainment, and so on. The industrial or secondary sector has declined, as the vast majority of the population work in the services or the tertiary economic sector. Also, with the selected shopping areas, it illustrates how much the comfort goes beyond the basic needs. For instance, how many pairs of feet does an American have? The answer is simple, as it is one. Yet, how many pairs of shoes does an American have? I'll let you to go to your closet and count them. At this point, you might be willing to pause and read the chart on the screen, where each step brings its own economic sector profiles. If you have been exposed to the Rostow model for the first time, please be sure to understand that it is considered as the most influential development theory. This model lays on 5 linear steps, making possible for all countries to break the vicious cycle of poverty. Now, I know what you think. This model is old, as it was created in 1960, based on 50 countries, mostly European. More than half a century has passed, and the political frame of the world has changed, as colonized countries have become independent, and some of them were exposed to very quick decolonization. So, does the roster model still apply? Does the roster model continue to apply to all countries? I will let you to decide. This is the checkpoint. This is a checkpoint which has been integrated as a study aid. Which of the following roster model step is associated with the rapid growth of the tertiary sector? The answer is step 4, D, as it is associated with the rapid growth in the tertiary sector.